This is the FRC Roundtable, coming to you all the way from Minnesota. Your host team 2052 Nightcrawler presents this weekly FRC gathering where FIRST robotics competition teams take cooperation off the field. Share your knowledge, give and get advice, solve a challenge, or celebrate what makes your team special. 3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome everyone to the Sunday FRC Roundtable. My name is Scott Davis. I'm your host and mentor for Team 2052. Unfortunately, you're seeing me like this because we had a technical glitch and we lost about the first 15 to 20 minutes of the roundtable recording. We were able to get it restarted, so we've captured almost the last hour. What we missed, what you're going to miss on this recording is the first probably 5 to 6 slides, but don't worry. The slide deck is linked in the show notes, so you can go back, you can see those things that were in the beginning of the roundtable tonight, and you'll be joining after I get off this little intro thing. You'll be recording the section in progress, and you'll be able to catch the remaining of the presentation as well as all of the kind of questions and answer question and answer roundtable part of the presentation at the end. So sorry about the technical glitch. We'll get that worked out. Hopefully it won't happen again, and see you next week. Thanks.
In one package stuff, it can be parsed out. How is that done? Who is paying for those things? When are things due? So you don't lose that if that's relevant. And then all things related to travel, competing, and the robot. So team guides, oh my gosh, the travel guides for the team and the parent student meeting, having all of that together so you don't have to recreate the wheel every single year. You're just changing prices, you're changing hotel names, all those kind of fun things, making sure your permission forms are in, everything are in there. You have that in that place that you just keep going back to, then it makes that part so much easier, because I know everything gets crazy during that part of the year. Awards, oh my gosh, you want to really be able to go back and look at what you've already put together, right? Having that in a specific place. Make sure that as your students work on things, they transfer ownership if that's a situation you could run into, right? Because sometimes you might lose things from previous years because it was never transferred and you don't really own that file. And you could lose your impact award or your list of all the outreaches that you did for so much time. So having that all in one place that is under your ownership will ensure that your team can keep moving forward with those things nice and smoothly. Pit setup, all those kind of robot documentation, all that fun kind of stuff can be in this section.
Okay, I just remembered, Elise, what we forgot for that other section. A lot of the events put out event information and event guides, and you want to make sure that your team, everybody on your team has access to whatever that information is coming out for your events, not just your lead. It's not up to just your lead coach one to know all the information about any particular event. So yes, you can have access to all of that. It is online.
I will put that in our notes.
I just forgot. It's a big pitch for the event guides that'll be starting to come out now as we turn the corner toward kickoff and competition. So there you go. One more thing to add to the list.
Okay. So can you think of anything we missed? Any list we missed? Anyone?
I can't really think of a specific list you guys missed, but it kind of made me think about the different platforms that teams might use. So like how you organize it. I know that we use a Google Drive format, so I was trying to think about the different folder breakdowns that we have, because ours go like by season, by sub-team. But I was wondering maybe what other teams use to organize, and maybe that'll like show something that one team has organized in a folder that another team doesn't.
We do get into documentation in the next part. So yeah, it is a consideration where how do you organize those things is definitely a big part. So we'll go ahead and move on to that. It's a good segue. Thank you. So the result of all of this hard work, again, not to be done in one season, it can be a lot. Do not feel overwhelmed. This is not a quick kind of process. This is something you can tackle little bits and pieces. One of my favorite expressions is, how do you eat an elephant? Anyone?
One bite at a time.
Exactly. So documentation and accountability. The process of how you do documentation and file management, exactly what you said before. So now you have all your stuff. You have lots of stuff to organize. Before, maybe you had some stuff, but now you have a lot of stuff, and you need to organize it well. You have to think about what those policies and procedures are, so your team knows how to best save, where to best save, who to share with, all of those kind of policies. How do you handle personal information on your team and passwords? How do you restrict access to those, and making sure that you do restrict access to sensitive information, but also don't get overly restrictive on material that really does need to be shared with more people so they can get more things done. So finding a good balance in your materials and where you're going to share it. So making sure the whole team knows where the stuff that you need to work with is shared, so everybody can have access to the stuff they need to have to work forward to. And do you want hard copies of some things? We have handbooks in notebooks in our build space, so our team leads can pull it out, or our mentors can pull it out. Parents, anybody can pull it out and look as a reference. So the file management and good document best practices. One of the things we do is our team handbook and our Google Drive are kind of aligned. So there's a logical process of, we go here and we look here because we've already got an idea of the structure of things. If this is going to be in this part in the team handbook, if we're going to talk about leadership and that sort of thing, all those documents are going to be in that part. And if we're going to be talking about travel and such, it's going to be organized this way because there is a logical flow of the information. How you do it as far as season or topic, I get that is a really big challenge. We have that challenge both for regionals and for the team, because you do want to find a good logical way of, okay, is this all about 2026 that we're looking at right now? Or do we need to have, or are we talking specifically about just robot documentation? And then we have the years under there. So do you have the years above, or do you have the years below in your hierarchy of how you're organizing things? That's all a team preference kind of thing. But what I do recommend for the hierarchy kind of stuff is create an index, and don't think of that as every single document, because that is truly overwhelming, but think of it in terms of the folders. So if you have an index in that root folder that you share with the team, they can see where things should be expected to be found. Not only where they can see where it should be found, but where they should be putting their documents. So nobody else is expected to clean up things. This is how we're organized. This is where you should be putting things. Best practices of the actual documents. I love table of contents, don't I, Laurie? Almost every document I have has a table of contents. I like seeing overviews really easily. I love headers and bullet points. All these things make it easier to create things that communicate the information better. Then don't tell your team where everything is. If they come in and they say, hey, where's last year's impact essay? I want to look it over. Don't tell them exactly where it is, because the next time that they want to look for something, they're going to come back and ask you where to find it. Teach them to fish. Say the link to our Google Drive is in our Slack or whatever communications thing you have, whatever way that you keep things organized and such. We keep ours in our description. The main description of our Slack in the general channel is the link to the Google Drive. So it's really nice. You know where the link is. Go look it up. Laurie, what's your favorite one?
I've become very fond of tables of contents to maneuver my way through.
But what's your favorite one for working with your teams on asking questions?
Oh, that and volunteers. Ask 3 before me.
Yeah.
There have to be at least 3 other people who have that information who can help you before you get back to that lead person to ask them that question such as, "Where is the calendar?" or "What is my next task?"
Teach them how to find the information. I told our team lead that one on Friday, Laurie, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm definitely using that one now." uh, all right, so this is just some examples of some things that you might need, may or may not need for your team, depending on how you're set up. You'll know, your team will know if you need some of these things. Definitely the team handbook, I think, is a critical item for any team. So useful because it can cover so many different things, and it can make it so much easier for you to not have to answer questions every day, every minute of every day. And there's some great examples out there. You'll have the opportunity to see these links when you do get this, to click on them easy. First Inspires has the team management resources. I couldn't find the handbooks they used to have in there, but the Compass Alliance has a team organization handbook you can look through, and also 1902 has a sample of theirs with the names taken out. But the two team leads is in there, so if you have any questions, Amanda and Carrie are always great about answering questions. I will tell you, when we built ours, I did some searching on Chief Delphi and just general Google searches of FRC team handbooks, and there are so many out there. Teams are so generous. Then for your with the team leads, you really need to be thinking about what is best for the team, not what is best for you, but what is best for the team. It's a really difficult line to walk, because that is the role that you're in. So fiduciary responsibility is making sure that you have that responsibility to your team to manage all the assets responsibly, in the best interest of the team being able to move forward from day to day. And the culture awareness of the team, right? What is the culture of your team, and making sure that you maintain that as well. And most importantly, who is your successor? Does the person know, if something happens to you, does the person know who is supposed to be stepping up? Do they have all the assets access to all the assets that they need, or can that be transferred to them easily enough? So thinking about how you can move forward best, and how you approach it, and how you can move forward best if anything happens. So why are we doing this? The structure and documentation really creates good expectations and boundaries, so that it is clear, it's not personal, it is clear what the team expects, and then it's easier to weather those conflicts, because it isn't personal. It's just, this is the way our team is organized. It's very simple. It's what we all agreed to. The open communication, how much money do you have? How much money do you need to have? How many, just about, all the documentation things we talked about. All this stuff builds a sense of accountability with your leadership and the team members, and it creates an integrity and trust with the whole team, because they don't feel like things are being held back and we don't know what's going on. All of that creates uncertainty, but the open communications creates a much nicer environment to be in. Having multiple trusted members, make sure that your productivity, you keep moving forward. It's just really improves things as far as efficiency and effectiveness and continuity of continuing to move forward. And it's less stressful, and it's great sustainability for your team. So you will keep moving forward.
This really is very much a learning process and a living document. You're not just one and done, but it is something that you can take out at minimum to review on an annual basis, but it's also great fun to pull it out at different times throughout your team's calendar and timeline. You're going to experience new circumstances with events. There'll be new people coming into your team, new stakeholders, budgets will change. Things really are changing and changeable. And if you do this as an exercise, even if it's just once a year, you'll see that there are patterns that are developing. And it actually builds in flexibility so that you can modify as you go. And so that change, even if it's abrupt, you still have a plan. and you're able to adapt and you're able to modify so that you and your team can continue to move successfully forward. Please do add some kind of review to your annual calendar activities. That just allows you to add documents, revise them, change them up, understand that there are new people that you need to add into the process. And most of all, you do have permission to take it slowly. In fact, I highly recommend that you take it slowly. Think about it, think about it, think about it again, and then come back and add 5 more things to your to-do list. And that is perfectly okay.
So thinking, just create some best practices for yourself and in this process, thinking about onboarding, documentation, all those kind of fun things. Who needs to know what? This is just kind of an overview of a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, and that accessibility and restrictions on what is most important for who to have. And just as Laurie said, take your time getting this done and just be patient through the process. It's doing it well is really the important thing, not doing it fast.
And because everyone has so much time right now to read and think about things. However, even leaders need tools in their toolbox. And these are books that both Elise and I have come back to and referred to and have shared with each other, because there are just valuable pieces of information that are going to challenge you to think differently, especially the one by Brianna Wiest, which is 101 essays that will change the way you think. Very, very thoughtfully laid out ways that will challenge you as a leader to come at difficult problems in different ways. Scott.
For our podcast listeners, can I ask you to read the titles of the remaining ones?
Okay. Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. Difficult Conversations, How to Discuss What Matters Most by Douglas Stone, Bruce Patton, and Sheila Heen. Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. And Elise's most favorite one, if you have more time in the day, is called The 6 Types of Working Genius. And I cannot pronounce Patrick's last name, but I think go ahead.
Lincioni. Yeah.
But please do think about expanding your own toolbox with organizational skills, additional ways of looking at things. And yes, you really can pull these out in the middle of the night when you're wrestling with difficult problems during build season. Some of them might actually help you sleep a little bit better.
I will say, for the difficult conversations in my experience with my team, every time I had the difficult conversation, the one that I was dreading to have, whether it was a student, a parent, another mentor, whatever, every time I had that conversation, it improved our relationship. I always thought it was going to be more challenging. It was going to be something that was going to cause more of a rift between us or something like that. I like to be liked, just like a lot of people. And I found that it really improved our relationship to have a deeper understanding. But when I didn't have the conversations, when I put off the conversations, that's when more of the challenges happen. So I think that's a powerful one for a team. My favorite, though, and now I've talked about 2, is, like she said, my favorite is The 6 Types of Working Genius. And I just want to give a little bit of plug to this one, in the sense that this is all about understanding and appreciating the process of work. And there are 6 areas that are defined in here: wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And in there are hundreds of thousands of people getting tested in this. We all have 2 that are our strengths and 2 that are our challenges. It's not that we don't do all of these. I work for myself. I have to go through the entire process of work by myself, but I get caught up in certain areas. Some things are more of a challenge for me throughout my day, and I've become more aware of where those challenges are, and I can put more energy towards those. But those top 3 are where that brainstorming strength is. And when we talked earlier about brainstorming and having a facilitator, it's really key to having somebody who enjoys the brainstorming process, because some people are down in those galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity parts, and those are their strengths, and they don't understand that it is important to go slow and allow people some thinking time. And it's okay to have these different skills. I've got friends, I think Laurie is even a very good discerner. And sometimes she will tell me, but should we? I'm a wonder enablement person. I'm like, ooh, we could do this. And then I want to just get started with it. And Laurie goes, but is this really a good time? And I'm like, oh. And before I kind of used to feel like, oh, they just don't want to do my thing with me, or they don't think this is a good idea. And now I understand the power of this particular one, or understanding these, is that she's not trying to discourage me from doing something. She's trying to make sure that we do it at the right time, and I'll have more time later to focus on something. So if you understand like how the different personalities in your team, I did this with a bunch of my alumni, figuring out who they were, and they had a lot of fun sitting around trying to figure it out. And it really does help from the standpoint of understanding personalities. So that's
One
my
more
plug.
slide, Elise. One more.
Yeah, one more
Yeah.
slide. Woohoo! So to wrap it up, this is our disclaimer, right? This is not meant to be a complete list of all the matters that your organization should be tackling or might want to consider, because you're unique and you're special, and you have your own challenges, and you might have a list of other things that you need to work on. Figure out how best to work together as your team on your things. We won't tell you, we're just giving you some ideas here. You're not going to be the first team that's going to have the problems. I promise you that. There are other teams that probably have had the same exact challenge, probably 99.9% sure, right? Because we are all working in very similar aspects together as teams. Talk to other people at teams, build relationships, because other people have great ideas. And if you have a problem, you might be able to talk to your friend on this other team, or reach out to your first regional directors and senior mentors, because they're great resources. They do have a lot of experience with a lot of things that teams have experienced. This is something that when you work on it together as a team, there are some things you probably have to do as mentors or the team leads, but the more of this that you can do together as a whole team exercise, the student, you can put it into your sustainability award and even your impact award documentation, because the students will have been a part of it. They can talk about it better, and they can say, we did this thing where we worked on our team, making sure that we can move forward sustainably and understanding who we are. And we did all this stuff, and it was really great. And now we have this great resource, and they can talk about it because they were a part of it. And I think that's just so powerful for our students. And now you have new tools. So I hope that makes it easier moving forward. Again, you will have access to all of this in this slide show that you'll be getting the link for. You will get a direct access to the document, but also this little thing is a button here that you'll be able to open up. So I'm going to stop sharing. But please, does anyone have any questions?
Or have you all had to go run out the door and scream into a pillow, which is okay too.
I see Amanda has a question.
Kind of typical for me, sorry.
Nope, go for it.
I just want to thank you so much. This was pretty mind-blowing for me, because it gives a structure and a name and a way to proceed to this sporadic group of things that I feel like myself and others on the team have been doing. So thank you. I feel very enabled now, although yes, overwhelmed. I'm also glad I'm not the only one who wakes up at night with thoughts about what to do about robotics. There is a question in here, and my question is this. You mentioned a handbook, and yes, our team has a handbook, but our handbook is very student focused. And I wasn't really sure if you were also referencing more like a coaching handbook or a mentor handbook as a part of that, or as a separate thing, or can you comment on that?
So I do know that our handbook in particular, I don't know about all handbooks, but I have reviewed a lot of them, because like I said, when I decided we needed to improve our handbook. I felt like I know we're missing things. I did a big search, and this was back, I want to say, in the probably mid 2010s, right? So it's been a while since I did this big search, but I started looking at other people's, and ours does cover a lot of different things. It covers expectations of parents. It covers the different roles of mentors, because we have young mentors that come in, right? We are near a university, so we have mentors that come in from other teams, and we like to keep the first alumni kind of in the fold a little bit, and we have a lot of young mentors. And so what role do they play? Is it a different it is a different level. The or first year mentors. What the different roles of the mentors are. We have a board of directors because we're a community team. So how does that play into our team? We also cover everything down to the little things, like our domain name is sponsored by one of the founding mentors of our team, who was a parent, and has continued to pay for it since then. But we document that little bit of information, because what if something happens to that? That's a powerful part of our ability to communicate about our team. We use it a lot. Our website's pretty extensive. To lose that would be a very big challenge. So every year we check in with him to make sure he's still going to sponsor it. So, but we might not have that information. We wouldn't have it as part of something when we review the handbook, we need to check in with Eric, right? So having, and it's just all those things where something happens and we're like, ooh, put that in there. Ooh, put that. And we make a list of the things that we're going to address in our next review. We do not modify our team handbook on the fly throughout the year, right? We create the list of things we want to address when we make changes in the summer. We include the students in that process, because they're the ones who probably had the most questions about it, or the experience with the things that happen, but also the mentors, because we do cover some things with mentors. And you will have a link to ours, so you can see what we do cover or don't cover. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I was just going to say, Amanda, we are just getting started on this process of documenting things, and we have a separate student handbook and mentor handbook.
Yeah.
And I don't have a question, just another comment. This presentation is daunting and overwhelming, but in a good way, because these are things that I've recognized that we needed for a while, and it's just the ball is rolling very slowly, but it is rolling, and this is going to be of great help to us, I think.
So both the presentation and the workbook have now been shared with Nicole Shassow, and it will be going out as part of her newsletter to teams. And I also sent it over to Scott Davis, who might be able to post it as well, in conjunction with some of the other materials for all of this. Yes, we know that it's overwhelming, but also consider us a resource. I mean, both myself and Elise, we have lived through a lot of what we have put into all of this work, and we'd love to hear from other people as you're working through it yourself.
Yeah, the biggest part the biggest aspect part of this work that I started with happened during COVID, when I had to take a step back from my team to go help with my mom. And so I got that, a little bit of that overview. I got to step back, and as many of us did during COVID, we stepped back into a whole new realm, right? But I got to step back and see this from a higher level, not being in the weeds of it. When I was in the weeds of it, I will tell you, there was a lot of, why didn't we do this? Why don't we do this? I mean, it was constantly, it was pulling it together when I could step back a little bit. So I understand exactly where you are. I've been deep in the weeds, and I think if I saw this, I might run screaming from the room too. But yeah, decades of experience from Laurie and I on going through all sorts of these experiences.
I ran screaming from the room, but I'm back now.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that.
I can't remember if Laurie actually told the whole story. When I first presented on this in 2020, her screen went dark, and it was like, oh, I wonder why she turned off her camera. as I continue presenting. And she said later she had to turn off her camera because she just couldn't handle it anymore. We have really we modified the process and how we approach some of it, because it is a little bit more of a generalist approach, because we really focused on the process and less on the stuff, because your stuff is particular to your team. And so we really tried to focus more on the process. Dave, do you have a question? I see you turn your camera on.
More just thank you, because actually it's been on top of mind for me for the past year of needing to build this, but now this is giving me a better foundation to work off of.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yeah, let us know if you find something that we can add to the workbook, because that would just be awesome.
Yeah. You guys find something in your process, you're like, oh, you guys totally missed this.
I have a question. I have a question about security. So I have a to-do list, and we've actually purchased a tool, and I forgot what it is, to do a password manager that we can share with up to 10 people for our team. But the reason why we purchased this particular one is because they had an online two-factor authentication code.
Okay.
And so with the way passwords are working today, pretty much everything you have to log into has 2FA. And if only one of your mentors has the 2FA app tied to their phone, then that doesn't solve any problems at all. So it was sent to me by a nonprofit attorney saying, hey, we use this one for our nonprofits because then you can do the two-factor in the web as well. Do you have any advice around that? I think, having a password manager with shared with multiple logins, so everybody can have their own login and you can reject access and all that stuff is great. This is the first time I'd ever heard about having a web-based 2FA code.
I would love to know what application that is. I'd love to include it to let me know.
I can find that before we get off the call here. Also,
I have a little trick. I have a little trick I use with Gmail. So I work with a lot of nonprofits, right? And particularly with our team account, right? You have a team account. You have often the case is you have a free Gmail account, right? Lots of teams do it because we're all on a shoestring budget. Nothing to be ashamed about. We have one because we're a community-based team. We cannot use our 501c for this because we have an umbrellaed 501c3, which is a bit of a challenge in a very complex 501c3 situation because we're with the 4-H in the state of Florida. Sorry, I know that's a lot of complications. Anyway, what we do is have an email address for one mentor and the phone number for another mentor, because you have two options for authentication, right? And so if that way you do have two people who can access, they can either use their phone number or the other person can use the email address. So improves a little bit of that capability of, and we do the same thing with the team leads account because again, we have it as a Gmail. We do the same thing with the team leads account because team lead 1 and 2, they use one of each. So if something happens, they can make sure they can get in. Just a little trick to get around the.
I have another email trick for 2FA as well, is if your 2FA system will let you email me a code. We have a generic email account set up for that. But because our students also need to have those codes, we have that automatically post a message to Slack so that all of our students who are part of the leadership group, it just pops right into Slack and they can, and then the nice thing about that is that in Slack, when Afomia or Nicole are requesting our verify your account for MailChimp to do our weekly emails out to parents and students, they can respond saying that was me. So that no one has to worry about who requested this code. Our students or our other mentors can say, I did that. That was me. I had to get into the MailChimp.
See, that's a great example of trust and accountability, right? You trust your students, or transparency. You trust your students to do it. And it keeps your workflow going, right? So wherever you can do that, that can be very helpful for creating a trusted environment as well as continuing your workflow.
One of the other tricks I've done for that as well, although it doesn't quite work because we have the not-for-profit workspace for Gmail for the team, is you can do a Google Voice. The Google Voice, the text can go to, you can set up a rule within that to forward it out to a distribution list. Another way I've cheated it, but with the non-for-profit Google Workspace, it doesn't include Google Voice with it. At least not that I found with that for free. So
we all have to have workarounds, right? We're all trying to get by on what we can manage. Really helps to have those little tips from other teams. Anyone else? All right. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact Laurie or I. We're happy to talk to you. If there's students on here who have questions, please make sure to include an adult mentor or parent on that email.
I will put the link I do have the PowerPoint, so I will put that in the show notes for both YouTube and Spotify, which I assume those show notes go to Amazon Music and every place else the podcast goes. So that'll be there. I did think of one more thing, though, before we hop off the call here. So all of your presentation is about team continuity, and I think everyone here agrees. We certainly agree. Nightcrawler started this what's on the wiki thing as a way to force us to document some of our processes, and some of that stuff will be continuity stuff, and it'll help our future leaders to look back and see what roles have we had in the past, or to look at things like tonight where Afomia said, hey, you're going to be asked students are going to be asked to evaluate you on these things.
Love that.
You should know that now. So that's 6 months from now when you're asked, when you go through that interview process, you're not surprised, or you wouldn't need to be surprised if you read the wiki. But something else that we're trying to do with our wiki, and this has sort of been part of my goal, and Afomia and I have talked a lot about this for the team, is that I'm so tired of making the same list on the whiteboard every year for what do we got to pack for the picnic, or what do we have to take for the middle school demo. It's the same thing every year, but since you only do it once a year, it'll take you longer to go find it in the Google Drive of all the packing lists that could be out there than it will be to just make the list on the whiteboard. And so one of the things that we have on the wiki right now is the pit packing list for both the full pit and a partial pit. And 2 days ago, when we were packing for Mini, our mentor who put that packing list together didn't go try to find Google Drive from his phone. He went to the wiki, he pulled it up, and we made sure everything was packed.
Nice.
And the other thing that I think we've sort of come to terms with is that a lot of organizations, and this is, robotics teams are a whole different animal than like me and my business and how I run my business, but things really don't need to be secret. And so the idea that, well, do we really want to put that up on the wiki or not on the wiki? I mean, if it's not a password and it's not a phone
it's
number,
not personal student information.
Does it really matter? And in the end, if it ends up helping another team, saying, oh, we never even thought about bringing this to a demo. Why don't we bring these things to a demo? This is a really good idea. I mean, even if you put up something that you think is really stupid, no one's going to care what we pack for the picnic. It turns out that other people might say, hey, we're going to host a picnic for our partner team in the next town over. Let's just go start with this list in terms of what we want to bring. And so we've sort of decided we're just going to share as much as we can find to share. Even like we have up on our wiki how to crop photos for the website, because every year we have to remember what tool are we using again to crop these photos and how are we doing that. It's just up there. Now, will another team ever care how Nightcrawler crops her photos? Maybe not. But
that's why I'm a part of the first. Yeah, that's why I'm a part of the first mentor conference, because I do believe as much as we can share with each other, and that is one of the ethos of that group is sharing with each other. One of the things we use for those packing lists is we laminate them. And when our team lead needs to assign somebody to go put together the demo, make sure the demo box is prepared, because we used to always be missing the laptop charger or the driver station or whatever. She's like, here's the list. Now that's one of those things she does that is not go find this, but they can grab a whiteboard erase or whiteboard marker and just go make sure they check everything off. So. And
the last piece of information I wanted to bring up before we got off the call here is because we've started this initiative, I've had conversations with other teams about what they've done. And one of the things I think is maybe a trap. I mean, I don't want to evaluate good or bad, per se, but there's always this inclination to say, Google Docs is just such a mess. We should use a professional tool to build a knowledge base, one that's fully searchable and is made to do exactly what we want to do. And then it turns out that everybody who wants to have access to it has to have a separate login. And I think that's one thing that you got to keep in mind very early when you start running down the idea of using a professional tool, even if you can get it for free, is that who has access to it, and how do you get all your new students access to it? And eventually are people just going to stop looking at it because it's too hard to get into the tool? Again, it comes down to process. So I don't want to evaluate good or bad. I just want to encourage people.
And what's the learning curve on it, right? What's the learning curve on creating things with new tools? Sometimes it is just simpler to go with, or it's so much more effective to go with something simple. Yeah. Keep it simple, right?
Yeah, this has come up in conversation a lot recently, actually. This past summer, I was working with a captain of Stampede, the team Stampede, and she was talking about how this past summer they went through and documented so many things on Confluence, which I think is like very widely used in like the business space. I know I had to use it for work, but they talked about how it was really frustrating for them to go into the season and watch people not want to use all the documentation they made because it was so difficult to get yourself registered and navigate the platform. So it definitely is a learning curve, but it also, I think that's an example of one of the traps Scott was talking about being unsure how people will receive different platforms. So sometimes simple is really better.
And you want to prepare the students for possible work tools, right? There's an argument for that of, but this will, I love Canva. Canva is a great tool, right? Mm-hmm. A little bit of a challenge sometimes with the whole sharing thing. I have to use it for work and for regionals and for, I'm constantly working with different people with it, but it is a great tool, and it's a functional tool for being able to take into the workplace as well. So of course we want to introduce our students to new tools that are going to be relevant as they move forward into workspaces. But again, like you said, where's the payoff of accessibility to something?
Yeah, that's a good point. It definitely shouldn't be dismissed, but I guess it is kind of hard to know what the initial reception would be. And like they didn't plan ahead to have like a training session or maybe a full team discussion about what they're using going forward. So maybe that would be like an adjustment that they can make.
Yeah, having that team having those discussions with your team to make sure they have buy-in for what are we adopting as the best choice to move forward in. Mm-hmm. Great stuff.
Any last minute questions? We still have a little time left, but I'm happy to end a little early. I mean, we're not that early. It's 8:21 on my clock. Any other kind of comments or questions from the folks in the crowd? Oh, Fomia, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I was thinking about this question earlier because we went through the wiki for leadership roles. I know our team we don't really have like a set list of. We have our set roles, for example, the team captain roles and the sub-team captains, but we have these things called leads. So like we have a CAD lead right now, a website lead. I used to be the autonomous lead. And so our mentors are really good at creating space through like the interview process for people who have maybe a specific focus or specific skill that they could be a leader in. But sometimes it's challenging. I know, especially we talked about it this past summer because a lot of leadership roles changed. There was a lot of seniors that graduated, and it's going to happen again this year. And I was thinking about, like, you talked about documenting what leadership roles require, what the skills are, what the responsibilities are. But maybe do you have any advice for balancing that with giving people space to kind of fit the role to what their skills are? Because that's also something that comes out of very strict documentation of what roles should include. People might not feel like they can flex the role to what they think they could bring to the team. Does that make sense? Like having
absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. And you can correct me if I'm wrong here. One of the challenges I see more often in this space is the business lead type of positions. I think a lot from my experience, students don't have the same confidence they seem to have with the robot, and I'm not sure they do seem to gain confidence with that robot very, very quickly. And I could be wrong here. I mean, that could still be a bit of the challenge, but I think you can use this on both sides of that. Is, again, yes, that what are the skills that are useful for this particular role, but also being clear about what that looks like. For example, sometimes students will get like, oh, I can't do the website, or I can't do the imagery with the social media and such. But like you said, everybody has different experiences and different skills. Somebody might be really good at writing. And so if they are the website lead and they're only really good at writing, but they're not really good at the more graphics part and the way something looks, or some other aspect, it's about building your team, right? Like, they're the lead. So it's not about being able to do everything really, really well. It's about remembering that you do have something that you can contribute. You know, those strategy kids often get overlooked in the business side of it. But oh my gosh, some of my strategy kids were the best ones on figuring out social media strategy, even strategy for awards, right? So they do have skills, and how that can transfer over that cross line between robot and business, and building that confidence in them that you don't have to understand every aspect of it. We'll have somebody walking alongside you.
There's another thought too, Aphomia, is write your own role. You can provide a basic template for your students on your team that they have to include certain aspects, like, let's say, the time commitment would be for whatever the role is, let's say. But then they can bring it's like, write your own role. If you could create your own role, but within the guidelines and what the team can possibly offer them. So if it opens up a lot of possibilities, because you're going to hear from a lot more students, because they're going to Elise's point, they're not going to be that website lead, but they're going to be creating something that's going to contribute significantly to the team. They just don't know that yet. So create that space for them to create that role.
Yeah, I really like that. When a lot of our leadership roles changed this past summer, we actually sat down, we had a discussion per sub team, and then I had a talk with Scott and my other co-captain about what we wanted our roles to mean and to be, especially because we've had situations with co-captains in the past of roles being unclear or responsibilities being unclear. But I almost think that we should probably have that discussion again, like before kickoff, or also during the build season, because I think that's when a lot of times people find what brings them the most excitement on the team, especially for our younger members. Like, where do they think they could step up and lead? Like, I didn't know I was going to get into autonomous when I came onto my first year of the team. I didn't even know what that was. So that kind of goes through the build season, and people kind of grow and change. And I think it's important to give people space to do that, but also make it clear what, like, requirements are, what expectations are for each role, so things get done.
And teams grow and change, right? So an initiative you've worked on for years and years with your team, and there's that pressure, oh, we have to continue, we have to grow this initiative, grow this. If the team's no longer excited about it, let it go. Put their energy towards something they are excited about, right? It's okay to let things go that are no longer something your team is passionate about. But what are they passionate about? And having those conversations and that recommitment on things that you want to keep doing can be helpful. Also, you should always be training your replacement. Students should, and mentors should always be training their replacement throughout the whole season. Seniors especially. Ooh, so hard when you have a hard hit of a big senior class, and 2 years in a row. Oh, that's painful.
I found the name of the password manager. It is called Dashlane.
Dashlane.com.
Okay. I can't give you any testimonial on it because we haven't really even started using it. I paid for it, and we have the 10 accounts plan. But it was recommended to me by a nonprofit attorney, so I was like, I don't even have to think about it. I'm just going to buy it. We'll start using it.
Maybe I'll check back in with you towards the end of the season.
It's probably going to be like a winter break project to start moving that type of stuff in there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and take it slow, and don't worry about getting every one of them in there perfectly. Maybe test a few.
That's a good, the perfectness is a great comment, because with us trying to get a new article out on the wiki every week, we're publishing things that are incomplete, and that's okay.
Yep.
Right? Because something that's incomplete is better than something that's not. And honestly, I really would like our students and our other mentors to look at that and say, hey, you were missing a bunch here, or this isn't worded very well. Fantastic. It's a wiki. Anybody can go update it. Please do. Right? And
perfect is the enemy of good.
Right.
If it's going to be perfect, it's never going to get done.
So I think that's a good takeaway here too, is that perfect should not be the goal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at 8:30. Any last going once, going twice? Anyone else have any last minute comments or questions?
Thank you so much, Scott and Aphomia. A real pleasure being with you on this, whatever you're going to call it, the FRC Roundtable. There we go. Covers all the platforms, right? But thank you so much for inviting us in and letting us have this opportunity to share what we've worked so hard to learn.
Elise and Laurie, thank you. We really appreciate it. A big round of applause, everyone. Throw up your virtual claps on the screen. That's awesome. Thanks so much. And for everyone who's listening, please join us in session. We are not going to have a roundtable the Sunday after Thanksgiving. We're going to take a break. So we'll be back in December. And then I think we have 3 roundtables in December. And then our next roundtable will be the Sunday after kickoff. So please join us again in 2 weeks, and we will see you all then. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
All right.
That's it for this week's FRC Roundtable. Join us live all season long, every Sunday night. Visit the website at team2052.com/roundtable to sign up for weekly invites. In the meantime, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next week.